Hi everyone. In today's video we will have a look on something very important. Yeah, everything is important, but this is something we are combining two of the things we studied earlier. So we kind of apply that because we studied if condition and also we studied switching, right? Input, digital input. So we are trying to connect both of them, combine both of them actually, and try to create a full system. So basically you know how to create a switching system, right? A pull up switching, and along with that now we will earlier we studied a pull up and we simply serial print the switching values, right? Digital input values. Today what we will do is we will give some outputs for the particular input. So let's put it this way. Let's say we have a switch, and if we press a switch, okay, so if we press a switch, nothing but you have to switch on an LED. Okay, so LED on. Else if not pressed, okay, else that means the first condition is false, second condition will happen, right? Else you have to switch off the LED. So let's think about a push button. So when you press the push button, an LED should be on, and if you take your hand off from the push button, an LED should become off. So apart from whatever you have in this digital input or input pull up or whatever, pull down or whatever, you should have to use the if else condition as well. So that means we combine two things we studied. We separately studied switching, we separately studied if condition. Now we are going to apply both together, right? So I will have it as a comment first, because otherwise will give compile time errors. So this is a comment, so program will not take it into account, right? It is the algorithm for our understanding. So first let's talk about the input pin, right? So let's use pin number 2. So pin mode. If you don't understand this, go watch my previous videos and come back, then you will understand. Okay, 2. So let's use input pull up methods. Okay, so that means we have a pull up circuit with the internal resistor 20 kilo ohm connected to pin number 2. So you only have to connect a push button to the pin number 2, and at the other side of the push button should go to ground. So when you press the push button, the circuit will become to ground state, not circuit, the pin number 2 will become digital input ground. If you take your hand off from the switch, then it will be +5. So you know those things. If you don't understand what I am talking about, you have to go and watch my digital input series of these parts of this series of the tutorial. Okay, so then you will understand what I am talking about. So we are not serial printing, so instead of that, what we are going to do is we are going to use an LED for our purpose. Okay, pin mode, let's say pin number LED number 13. Okay, so this is a blink LED. So we studied in the blink, so we have to put it as output, because you know that, right? We studied in the blink part. So if you are going to give an output, you have to mention the pin as output. All good. So now let's assign an x variable x. You know why? So int x. So following up is important. You have to come from the first tutorial, and if you come from the first tutorial properly, then you will understand very simply what I am talking about. Okay, all fine, you will very simply understand. Yes. So now I'm going to digital read the pin value. So what is the input pin? Pin number 2. So your switch is connected to pin number 2. Your push button is connected to pin number 2. So if you press the push button, pin number 2 will go to ground state. If you take your hand off from the push button, then it is released and your pin will become +5. So remember, right? Okay, so when it comes to input pull up, switch on mean ground. Okay, low. Switch took off means high, +5. That means that input state. Okay, so what you do, we will first write digital read pin number 2. Okay, and what you will do, you will assign that value to a variable. So you already said about x, so x variable. Okay, x, what is x? X is the digital read value of pin number 2. Okay, so that is 5. So you can consider as x as number 1. Also, if you want, you can consider x as true or false. So number 1 or 0 or true or false. Okay, not 1 or 0 or true or false, depending on the high or low output that is coming to the pin number 2. So now everything is fine. So earlier what we did is we simply serial printed the x states. but now it is not going to happen. We are going to write an if condition because we are going to implement this. So let's go for the first condition, that means if pressed. So I will write an if. Okay, so when pressed mean what? When you press the switch, what is the state of the X? It is low or 0. Okay, because in you are using input pull up means when you press the switch, the pin state becomes 0 or ground or low. If you take your hand off from the switch, or at the initial state, it is +5 or high or 1, all same. High, +5, 1, all are same. So when you don't press the switch, the initial state is +5. When you press the switch, it is ground. So in our testing, the first condition is pressed when you press the switch. Okay, so that means X is ground, X is low, or X is 0. If you don't understand, you go and have a look on the input pull up part or pull up circuit, then you will understand why when we press the switch X becomes low. Okay, so remember, in input pull up X becomes low when you press the switch. So also remember, we have to use two double equal, because when we compare values we use double equal. Okay, so you should know that. Okay, if X is equal to, am I using capital X? No, I'm correct. Okay, so this is how I compare. So when you assign the value to X, you use single equal. When you are comparing, you are using double equal, right? Then what is the order? LED should be on. Okay, so what is the order for that? Digital write, digital write, digital write, pin number 13, right? 13 high. So now the first part is correct. Okay, then what is the next state? Else, otherwise LED should be off. That means otherwise means X, when X becomes high. So as digital input, X has two chances, right? Either high or low. So for low means it's pressed. So otherwise means if you write else, it is the only choice is high, right? So you can write an else if you want, but else is enough. Okay, so else means X is high. Okay, 1 or 0. So 0 we gave the condition, now we are giving the condition for 1. So if you write because when you print the X as X, we get ones and zeros, but when you compare, I gave as low instead of zeros, right? It works. If you have any issues, you can give 0 instead of low and see whether it works or not, right? I didn't try that because out of my practice, we normally check as low and highs. Though when we print, we get ones and zeros. When we check, we use low and high, but you can give 0 instead of that and see whether it works. Okay, so let's forget about it for the moment. So I'll write digital write 13 low. That's all. It's very easy. So now you by yourself you can check the code flow and how it works. So if condition will be checked first. If that is true, that means X low is true. That means if you press a switch, X is equal to low becomes true, right? Because X is low when you press a switch. So this will become, this area will become true. Then this line number 12 will be implemented. 13 will be high. The rest else part will be skipped, and program will end because there's nothing else we wrote. So if you take your hand off, let's say, so that means the LED is on, right? The first part of the task. And look at line number 1, right? So now come back to the code. So you took your hand off. That means state of the X is high now, because digital read pin number will become high, because +5 will be going to the pin number 2 because you took your hand off from the switch. You release the switch. So X means high now. So the first condition is now, if condition is false. So whatever you write within that if condition, the whole thing will be skipped and it will be getting into the else condition, else part. So whatever you write within the else part will be running. That means LED will be off. Then we will come out of file and come to the last line, and again we will keep checking. Every moment we will read and keep checking, because then only if you press the switch at any moment, we will immediately read and give the output for that. Okay, so we have to keep reading and keep implementing the if else condition. So now the whole algorithm is working, right? Because if you press a switch, you get the light on. If you take your hand off, you get the light off. So you can play around with that. You can have as many as LEDs you want, and you can do these, and you can do some other things using that. Even you can have a blink when the switch is pressed. You can do such kind of things as well. So for those things and other things, going further with these things, we will study further in the upcoming tutorials. Until then, consider subscribing us. Have a great day ahead. Bye.